and don't really come here to teach. So we have a variety of interesting speakers to keep us entertained, so to speak. Next week's speaker will be Dennis Shepherd, a past president. Ajahn Brahmali, early Buddhism workshop series in Dhammaloka. These workshops will focus on the seventh factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is right mindfulness. Save the dates, 27th of November, the 4th, 11th and 18th of December. Information's on the website. The series of workshops for new Buddhists will be held throughout September and continue tomorrow, Saturday, from 2 till 3 p.m, starting on the 4th of September at Dhammaloka, side room to the main hall. That's just a small room to my right. These workshops are open to all and no registrations are required. The BSWA is also holding a series of workshops throughout September for new Buddhists, including core Buddhist teachers. These are open to all and no registrations are required. These sessions are held on Saturdays the 11th, 18th and 25th of September, 2 to 3 p.m. at Dhammaloka side room and the main hall. The Dhammaloka subcommittee is looking for volunteers for the position of volunteer coordinator, gardening coordinator and a cleaning volunteer. This would suit, especially suit people who are on Centrelink payments. For Centrelink, you've got to work 15 hours and they will pay you and you can volunteer your services here. Tonight's speaker is Kathryn Jew, or Kat. She's a member of the BSWA and also a founding member of the care group. And her topic for tonight is opening your heart. So please welcome Kathryn.
Hello. Thank you for coming. So basically Anusha said, "Can you speak?" And I said, "Okay." And yeah, here we go. So I work as a nanny and when Anusha said that the theme was opening your heart, I thought about exploring with a childlike heart. And so that's what the talk's going to be about. And before we continue, I'd really like to start with an acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to acknowledge the Wajak Noongar Buddha that we're on. The land of the Wajak clan of the Noongar nation, and pay respects to all past, present and emerging leaders, their knowings and their ways. I'd also like to pay respects to the Buddhist Society of WA's ancestors, of Ajahn Brahm, who's literally built this building, and all who helped him leading all the way back to Ajahn Jagaro and Venerable Puriso and Ajahn Chah, and also the Buddha himself. And then also the authors of all these books who have influenced me in my thinking. And yeah, so when it comes to exploring with the childlike heart, I think it really comes down to three things for me. Firstly, acknowledging the elements of a child's heart, which is in some ways very brave and also in other ways very delicate. And then the second element is about exploring alongside children and what it takes to, in some ways, be an adult that they can depend on, to have that sense of stillness and observation, which I really enjoy developing with Buddhist teachings. And thirdly, there's the aspect of, as an adult, how do we explore the world with our own childlike heart, with the sense of braveness, and as I think the Buddhist term is the lion's roar. So I'll refer to those three aspects over my talk. Let's see. So I guess firstly, to set the tone, I'd like to say that in my work as a career nanny over the past 10 or so years, I've been blessed with a lot of mutual engagement, creativity, and resilience when dealing with children. And that the emotional tone that I aim for, especially with discipline, isn't with brute force. It's not about domination. I don't like punishment or silencing children. But how I get through to them is the use of love and dedication, just showing up and making sure that my actions and my thoughts and my thinking really are consistent with following through with my duty of care, acknowledgement, deep listening, kindness, playfulness, openness, support, safety, and spacious relaxation. And I think that level of engagement and honesty really gets through the children, especially. So I've worked for about 30 families long term and a few others on a casual basis, and there's always a testing period. For example, one of the first times I ever looked after a family of 3, the 8-year-old locked me out of the house and he was laughing and giggling. But that was okay because I already had the house keys. And so he was dancing around with his siblings inside the house saying that he'd locked me out. And I said, that's okay, I'll just do the washing and hang up the clothes until you're ready to let me in. And they just kept looking at me from through the window, and I said, it's okay, I'm just doing my own thing, you can do yours as well, until he actually came out to tell me to my face that he locked me out of the house, and then he wanted to tell me more stuff that he thought was fun. And I said, yeah, that's very good. You do realize you were supposed to have locked me out, right? And then he said, he realized, and I said, it's all right, I'll finish putting the clothes away, and then I got the key and unlocked the door, and then they were good. We had an understanding. Yes, so I think exploring with a child's heart. Dan Siegel, who is a very eminent child psychiatrist and the founder of the field of interpersonal neurobiology, in his book called Brainstorm, he talks about the teenage mind and all the elements that go on there. And in some ways, I've heard that the toddler years are the first teenage years. Just quickly as a show of hands, who's a parent here? Who wants to be a parent? Okay. Yes, so Dan Siegel talks about the essence of adolescence. He also likes to call it the adult essence. So there are 4 elements of emotional spark, social engagement, novelty seeking, and creative exploration. And I think that's really so key to human existence and finding meaning and purpose in our lives. And I'll just share a little poem about the 2 different aspects of, in some ways, a child's heart and also the adult role in quite an idealistic, philosophical way. Because, I'm not a parent, and I think parenting is really, really hard. And I think that, it's different. Parenting is kind of like a hat that people can wear, and you still can aim for really high ideals, but you also have to be a human and acknowledge all the, it's easy to feel like we're failing at everything. But there's a poem, it goes, I am your parent, you are my child. I am your quiet place, you are my wild. I am your calm face, you are my giggle. I am your weight, you are my wiggle. I am your dinner, you are my chocolate cake. I am your bedtime, you are my wide awake. I am your lullaby, you are my peekaboo. I am your goodnight kiss, you are my I love you. And that's by Marianne K. Cusimano, I think. But yes, I guess there's the element of just that zest for life that children have, that deep connection, the impulse, the initiative, the boundary testing, the wonder, the appreciation, the creativity. And I think that's something that's really, really wonderful. So I think, do many people have a lot of connection with children in their lives at the moment? Oh, do you have a question or? Was it Elizabeth? Yeah. So I guess there's just that aspect that is really beautiful, and I'm feeling a little bit lost of where to go here, because I think Anusha, when she first talked to me, she said that some of her friends were wondering about Circle of Security, which is a parenting program based on the last 60 or 70 odd years of longitudinal attachment research in psychology. I've done some training in that, but I'm not actually qualified to teach it unless I have a specific DVD with me. I guess I have some examples of when children may or may not be misbehaving, and how different models, say Circle of Security or hand-in-hand parenting, might deal with that. So yeah, because I'm not really allowed to teach Circle of Security, just free flow, I might talk about hand-in-hand parenting, which is currently being researched by a lady called Maya Coleman. She's got a PhD, and she's a certified hand-in-hand instructor. And she's researching it with the Harvard University Center on the Developing Child. So hand-in-hand parenting was created by a lady called Patty Ripfler, and she's really awesome. I think she was a teacher to start with, so she thought she'd be great as a parent. But when she became a parent, she thought, no, what is this? Because it's a completely different emotional context. being a parent compared to being a teacher, and also in the same vein being a nanny or a grandparent, or yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot. So she, through trial and error, really came up with 5 simple tools for working with children in the home and parenting and having parenting support. So the first one is play listening, where we listen to a child's heart and anything that they are going through play. And you basically, children play is the way in which children make sense of their world. It's the way they make sense of themselves. And through play listening, or listening to a child through giving them free options for play, you'll just see the uniqueness of their human experience, and that's really nourishing both for the child and also quite potentially for the parent. I'll go through all these later, but there's play listening, then there's stay listening. When a child has been overly excited, whether they're happy or sad or angry or ashamed or fearful or curious, they're just wanting to explore everything. When they're just so excited, sometimes they'll get really jittery, and it's the stress responses in a child's body that they're not able to kind of make sense of and control as immature human beings. So stay listening is when an adult will just, like, sometimes the child will ask for like cookies, or they'll ask for the most little things, and they'll get really irritated and they won't want to make eye contact. And that's when you know they might need a stay listening time, or just full body meltdown. And in that time, the stay listening process is to just be with them as a human being, to really utilize that sense of stillness and observation that we do in meditation. So, for example, I took one of my kids to the Heritage fire station the other day, and he was so excited that when he came home afterwards, he had trouble sleeping. And on the car ride, he was nearly falling asleep. When we got into the driveway, he was saying, "Kathryn, sleep time?" I said, "Yes, sleep time." Got him to bed, read some stories, and he was just wired. He was so excited. And I lay with him for about an hour, and then he started pulling my hair and pressing my cheeks and giggling, and I said, "You know you're not meant to do that, you're supposed to be going to sleep." And we had to get him to sleep, otherwise he'd be shattered for the night, and we wouldn't be able to do school pickups. So I said, "All right, it's really time to sleep now." I held his hands. And that's when he went from 0 to 100, and he was just going, "No, let go, let go." It was like his heart was breaking. He was so tired, and I just had to hold him. And I said, "Yes, let go, let go. Want me to let go?" Yes, not bedtime. You don't want bedtime. Let go. You're asking me to let go. Let go. And he just poured all that emotion out. And I had to be there because he needed that sleep. So after a few minutes of that, he actually did. His whole body relaxed. And he had a very deep sleep. He was snoring so loudly. And I thought, okay, let's see how this goes. It was 5 minutes to when we had to leave for school pickup, so I said, "Okay, we have to get up now." And he was like, "I still need more sleep." So I gave him a big cuddle and just basically carried him to school. And he was saying, "Yeah, yelling." I wasn't yelling, not yelling. I said, "Yeah, well, you were speaking very loudly to me, saying, let go, let go." He said, "Yeah, let go." So we kind of had that repair process and reflection time to make sense of a really big emotional outburst. And he was actually quite calm during that, so I think that was okay. Sometimes it gets quite scary for a person to get into that space of, my whole body is like melting down. So I think it's quite important to have a reflective time when or after people have a stay listening with a child. And yeah, usually, so the third, so that was, we've gone through play listening, stay listening. Setting limits is one of the third tools that Patty Whitford talks about. Setting limits, like when I said it's really time to sleep now, and no, you're not supposed to be poking my face and pulling my hair and giggling. That's a time where a child will just let all their stress responses go because they've got some handrails or some boundaries to push back on. It can feel really mean to set boundaries, but there's another lady called Janet Lansbury who uses the framework of resources for infant educarers. She talks about how, especially with toddlers and especially when people are inclined to be gentle parents, sometimes going through life can be like walking down a dark path. And if we have no handrails on either side to give us some sense of orientation, it can be really scary. So Janet Lansbury is a really good and free resource to look up, and she really helps to make sense of when children are going crazy and acting out. Sometimes they need those boundaries to feel safe and cared for. So setting limits. The fourth tool that Patty Whitford talks about is special time, where it's really hard as a parent or as a caregiver, and sometimes with multiple children, to give them that special one-on-one time to fill up their emotional cup, to help them feel loved and really like, I am truly one of the most special people in this person's life, at least for a few moments. If you're juggling the cooking, the cleaning, multiple children, sleep routines, household management, finances, just being an adult's really hard. And if you don't have a lot of, say, family or friends around in this day and age, it can be really hard. So special time is where you would say, tell a child, all right, it's time for special time. You can have 1 minute, 10 minutes. It's up to the adult to set how much time they can allocate to that child. But you basically say, right, this is your time limit. In this time, you can ask for anything you want to, as long as it's not dangerous. We will do it. So they can ask for ice cream. They can stand on the table and dance, as long as they're there to make sure they don't fall off. They can sometimes ask for just a cuddle in bed. It's really what the child's impulse and initiative and what they're really longing for in their heart of hearts, they'll ask for it, whether it's to explore or test boundaries. But within that time frame, they will feel like they're number one. And they get to play with power, they get to play with they just get to play with a lot of things that they need to as a human being, but often don't get to because children they have to fall into line sometimes with what adults say. And it usually helps children feel a lot happier and a lot more cooperative because they've had a turn to have you be cooperative. And usually, if there's something that's bothering them, after they feel close, they'll either tell you or they'll need a limit set, and that's when they'll do their stay listening time. And after that, usually they'll be so much more calm and cooperative. They'll eat better, they'll sleep better, they'll play, they'll giggle, they'll laugh. It's quite a special kind of program, I think, this. And the last thing that Patty Whitford talks about is getting listening partnerships for parents. So this is quite emotionally intensive work sometimes, whether or not you get a choice in how emotionally intense it is. If you're looking after children, you're just kind of there. So the listening partnership is a really good place to have an adult give you the same love and attention and care that you try to give to a child. Because if you're running on empty, if you don't have enough for yourself, then it's hard to give to others. And I think that's something that blends quite well with the Sangha, the Buddha and the Dhamma in a Buddhist society, being able to have spiritual friends who we're able to rely on. So when Patty was first starting, she had such a difficult time that she would, she had a moment in a shopping mall where she just couldn't take it anymore. And this whole program started because a kind lady just sat with her. She didn't try to fix anything. She didn't try to make it better. She was just there and observing and still and kind and warm. And she just offered a hand and a shoulder. And I think that's something that's very much in alignment with some of the other books that I have on interpersonal neurobiology. And it's just very nice. So with listening partnerships, Patty Whipler and her team with Hand in Hand, they also have a free online forum as well as a paid version with specific instructors where you can go for that communal support with people who have similar values. And and if you have friends, you can have a specific list of people who you can call on a moment's notice and say, all right, I just need someone to listen to me right now, and I'm having a moment where I'm melting down. My child's melting down, I'm melting down. Can you just be there for us? And one of the other great suggestions that Patty has is you can also give this list to the child, and the child can say, okay, mummy or daddy or carer, I think you need a listening partner right now. Here's the list, please call someone. And it's that openness of your heart, that openness of being able to trust in your community that I think is really healing. And I think that really definitely fits in very well with the four Brahma Vihara of loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity that the Buddha talks about. It's really, just how do we maintain that, and how do we reach out, and how do we try to do it ourselves and find that balance between what's going on in a world of chaos. So how are we doing for time? Ooh, doing very well. I've got 5 more minutes. That's right. I had a hungry child the other day. So I told him after school that he should come in at 5 o'clock when his neighbor went into his house, back to his house, and we all agreed on that. But turns out the neighbor didn't have to go home, and it was like 5:37 by that time. I went out and I was like, all right, it's like way past the time we agreed on. It's time for you to come inside. And he begrudgingly did it. Actually, no, he didn't. I was getting dinner ready. He came in because I think he was tired. And I said, all right, now that you're in, you really need to go have a shower. And he said, no, I just want to go out and play some more. I said, no, you said you were tired, you said you were done, and it's really time for shower. He just put up the biggest resistance. I ended up just kind of saying, okay, these were the elements we agreed on, this is where I had leeway, this is la, back and forth, enough back and forth, shower time, hit the biggest meltdown. And then he just kind of went silent. He was sitting on just the bath, silent, and I was like, what do you want for dinner? You have a choice between sausages or lasagna. He just gave me the biggest stink eye. And I said, all right, I'm gonna make it ready. You need to go have a shower, and you're definitely going to bed early tonight. And then after that, I got the rest of his siblings in, younger sister, 2-year-old brother. They all had dinner. And then he was really happy because he had dinner. He actually ate it. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm glad you're feeling better now. And yeah, he said, yeah, I think I was really hungry. And I said, yeah, I think so too. So I guess that's kind of I was feeling really unsure about where to lay the boundaries and where to lay the leeway, because he was like fully, you're being so unfair, this is unfair, you said this, blah, blah, blah. And he's almost 9, he's getting to the age where he's becoming much more independent. And yeah, I'm learning myself as an adult how to be strong, how to have my own lions roar back at him, how to be confident instead of being unsure. And then I guess we were able to repair. And the next day we had a similar incident where he was like, I don't want to have a shower. And I said, oh, really? Because he was supposed to do his homework. I said, do your homework. He brought his iPad out. He opened up a game app by accident, and I was like, I'm seeing that game, you're supposed to be doing your homework. He kept going. He was like, it's an accident. It's an accident. I said, no way, it's not an accident. And maybe the initial clicking of the button was an accident, but you're continuing to play the game is totally not an accident. So you can go have a shower now, and then once your homework is done, yes, you can have iPad time. So we had a moment, we looked at each other, and then he said, okay, it was an accident, but I'll try again after I have my shower, which was fine. He showered, that was good, and then he did all his homework, which was amazing. He did it like super fast. And then he had iPad time. So the smooth flowing of the day was very good. He was very cooperative. And I guess that's kind of the flow of that dance between adult and child, and chaos. Chaos and taking the easy way out versus making sure things get done. So there's a really good sense of care for everything, his future, his present self, and his siblings and the household and all the juggle that happens there. So yeah, I guess that's that part. And I guess when it comes to tying up the talk that I'd like to give, it comes down to the adult exploration with a child's heart. I'd really like to give a shout out to the care group for continuing this long and really believing in the service that they provide for the Buddhist Society of Western Australia and the wider community of anyone who is experiencing distress or loneliness or anything where they'd like to reach out to someone. The care line is open, and they're really very much based on the 4 Brahmavihara of, it doesn't have to be people feeling like super overwhelmed. You can just want to share something where you'd like someone to feel proud of you. And that's also, I think, a particularly nice aspect of the care group, as opposed to just like maybe the typical mental health line that's targeted at only distress. The Buddhist care line is about everything about life and being able to connect with a community that cares. The bravery and determination of those involved. I think it's really nice to be able to be an adult but still be able to dream, and to have role models that we look up to, like the Buddha and like Ajahn Brahm and all the other Ajahns, and it's made a big difference in my life to be able to look up to people, and think, wow, that's so cool, and I'd like to do that, and that's really nice. And I guess I'll just share a couple more stories about the way I like to support children in looking after themselves and going for their dreams. So there was one child who we used to go down to a park, and he'd have a wooden spoon and he'd just dig there for hours. He was in love with diggers and trucks, so he'd just dig for like half an hour, and that was his meditation time. And one day I forgot to bring the spoon, and he went to his specific patch of sand, and he really wanted a spoon. So that was his first project that I supported him with. He wanted a spoon, so there was a cafe nearby, and I said, all right, let's walk to the cafe. You can have this coin and pay for a spoon. And he was really shy, and the barista fell in love with him because he's so cute. And he asked for a spoon. He didn't have to pay for it, but he got it from that lady, and they were just both beaming because it was so cute. We went back to his patch of sand, and he dug, and that was his piece of heaven. And I think it'd be really nice for adults to also have an experience of that in their adult life, and I really hope that each and every one of you is able to do that as part of your living with a child's heart, and having your confidence to go out into the world and do nice things and be excited. And there's another quote that I like to share by Kurt Vonnegut Jr., and it says, "Be soft. Do not let the world make you hard. Do not let pain make you hate. Do not let the bitterness steal your sweetness." And I guess with that, I would like to end with, may each of our Buddha natures continue to unfold with thousands of petals. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And now the floor is open for anyone to say what they'd like to, or for me to run away from this center stage limelight. Yes?
Have you ever done your meditation with children or young adults or anything like that?
Not formally, not real. No, not really. But I know.
Any sort of mindfulness that might not be like Buddhist meditation, but with correlations and how to sort of calm and child down.
Yeah.
Sort of those similar techniques.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of online apps and online programs. Even on YouTube, there's lots of yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole mindfulness movement with children has really exploded. So, were you asking for specific ones or asking for my personal experience with them? Well, I guess a lot of the mindfulness that I do with children is on the fly. So, when siblings have an argument, or say even today, I went to the playground and my 2-year-old was going down the slide. There was maybe a 3 or 4-year-old climbing up. The 2-year-old started kicking at his face, and the 4-year-old was kind of going up. So in terms of mindfulness, what I did was I went there immediately and I said, wow, you're both coming at each other. And instead of picking one side or the other, I just stayed in that moment of saying, wow, you're going down, you're going up. It seems like there's a clash here, And we just stayed with that moment, and then they were able to make sense and their own meaning out of that moment, instead of me saying one's bad or you're bad, or either one of them going against each other. They were just both kind of in an antagonistic, potentially, role. And then after I made that space in the moment, then they actually kind of wanted to be friends. Which is, I think, another really beautiful thing about children's hearts. They're just very forgiving sometimes, and they were fine. They were just introducing each other. They were saying, "Oh, hi, what's your name? These are my friends around me. I play with them. Who are your friends? Oh, my mom's name is this and that." So I guess that's kind of one of the ways I use my mindfulness. It's very in the moment. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
Question. Why do you think as adults, we lose our ability to be childlike?
I have a very good book in there. I have a very, very good book in there. That's a big one. So, I mean, we could look through the generations, intergenerationally, what people have learned to do to protect themselves, what they've learned from their parents and their grandparents' generations. There's like epigenetics, which is like the level above genetics that turns on and off your genes, all that sort of stuff, and everything in the past and the present moment kind of ties into how we learn to protect ourselves and to protect the vulnerability of our hearts. It's a big, big question. What are your thoughts on my answer just now?
Yeah, I think it's a big question. It's whatever your answer is, fine, it's good.
Okay. Would you like to go deeper in any of that?
Do you think it's safe to be childlike?
In
this world?
I mean, it depends on your context. I think Ajahn Brahm is very childlike in how he giggles, and but he's also very worldly in some ways. I think for an adult to be childlike, they also have to be very strong in their sense of self and their sense of what's potentially can go wrong. Like even in this building, it says, please don't leave your vulnerables just lying not vulnerables, your belongings around, because there is always the risk. So yeah, I guess what I'm really interested in and fascinated by is the monks and the nuns taking their vows. Like they make themselves so vulnerable in so many ways, and they're still human. So, I mean, to take those risks and just kind of fall into the arms of the world and the Buddhist community, that is almost like, to me, that's being very childlike, very vulnerable. So in some ways it's safe, in some ways it's not. Like they take the risk to starve. They take the risk to not have any protection or housing or have dental support. They take so many risks. But then it's that sense of, well, what is valuable in life? What is permanent? What is precious? So it's a matter of your values and your limits.
Do you have any comments about child and especially with technology like tablets and phones?
The childlike heart will explore everything, and I think their sense of just, this is amazing, this is so cool. It's that there's definitely that sense of engagement and easy love for games that are particularly programmed to be addictive. There's the elements of social engagement, or is it? There we go. So there's the emotional spark, which children are very good at. When they love something, they just love it. There's the social engagement where they can talk with friends or look at different people online, which is, they just love being social sometimes in different ways than from like even what I grew up with. There's novelty. A lot of games like will specifically build that into the design. And there's creative exploration where children they'll just go for it. But with an adult's mindset, with an adult's perspective, there have to be boundaries of, what is this life about? What are the limits? I mean, it's kind of like my child when he was wanting to play his video games versus doing his homework, or... sorry, I'm not sure if I answered that, where you were kind of going with that.
So I guess one way is not necessarily bad, but there is a reaching to be done.
Yeah, and there's also this is such a big topic as well. There are whole workshops on it by like more trained people who are fully into the field of supporting children and parents. There's just, it's a whole world in itself, whether online or with video games or technology. I mean, as with my early childhood background, technology can be really great. For example, taking photos of children playing. If we take photos of them playing in a childcare center and you paste it up on that play area, sometimes that will help children remember what they were playing about. They'll be curious about what the other children on different days of a daycare center, what they've been doing, and that will build on the complexity of their play. They'll build on, say, you have a theme of rocket ships or building towers and buildings. It'll kind of just be a one-dimensional play on the first day, but if you keep reminding children or giving little videos of voice clips of the children's discussions amongst each other, they'll remember that. It'll get spread around all the other children, and they, as a group, will come up with an amazing project because they're so engaged and having fun. So there are definitely very excellent uses of technology, but I guess it's the mindfulness and the wisdom and the intent and the perspective with which we support children as adults. Was there anything else you'd like to?
On a practical level, what's the best way to handle tantrums?
I guess it depends on the frequency and the context in which it comes up. So if you can give me something that comes to your mind, then I'll ask you a few questions and dig deeper, and we'll see what comes up.
Okay, so if I take my grandson to the shopping centre and he wants a particular toy and I said, no, it's too expensive or whatever. What is it that he's sort of goes into a tantrum?
Well, if you really don't want to give it to him, then don't give it to him. And as I mentioned about the stay listening, it's that acknowledgement of the grief and loss and desire that he's feeling, and being gentle with that at the same time as if he needs to be removed from the shopping center, remove him to take care of everyone else's ears, and also maybe his sense of self, depending on how old he is. If children can feel really embarrassed after they have a tantrum, they'll realize that other people have listened to them as well. Sometimes they can feel embarrassed, so that's why I would take children out of the environment into a safer, more private area to then listen to them, because sometimes they may be hungry, they may be tired, they may have other issues that are going on, like maybe mom or dad hasn't been around, they've had to go to work and they're really missing them, but this one thing that they could finally ask for and finally get, they're being said no to. So the referral of the emotional grief can be an element of what's going on when a child has that tantrum or that emotional meltdown.
I've actually seen a mother sort of copy the child having a tantrum, and this child got very embarrassed, and that was the end of the tantrum.
Yeah. I actually have an opposite problem with one of my children. He'll yell out in the middle of the shop, "Everyone can hear me!" And I'm saying, "Yes, James, yes, they can. Hi, shh, you're very loud." But he loves it. I don't know, it depends. It depends on the child, yeah, and it depends on the situation, and it depends on who the adult is as well. Yeah, but I hope, does that sort of answer what, yeah? Anyone else?
About like kids, like I went to my mom's house the other day, and with all my brothers and two nieces. One of them's got sick, the other one's sick, and yeah, that was like playing in the backyard, like on the grass, and doing like rolling balls and cartwheels and checking, looking at the flowers and stuff. You think that's like really important.
Yeah, that's
Just being inside and good.
yeah, definitely being able to connect with nature, be impulsive, be intuitive. That just sounds like a slice of heaven, really, and I'd hate for people to lose that. Yeah, I think people definitely need more free play in their lives. Balancing the structured technology time with the freedom and the nature and being in touch with their bodies, their full bodies. Yeah, that's really important. Speaking of being in touch with our full bodies as adults, how's everyone going? Are you tired? Oh, it's Friday night. Just want to make sure everyone's still making the most out of their moment. Yeah. Shall we just have a few moments together then of really enjoying the community that has gathered here today and the talk, and after that I guess we can just have a chill time. I'll put my books away, and if anyone wants to talk more, I'll stay behind, and anyone who needs to go and care for themselves in other ways, then feel free to do so. Thank you.
On behalf of the committee, I'd like to
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. Yeah. All right, I think, yes, I've turned it on.